Alright, in this last video we're going to take a look at Unit 6.7 for our Unit 6 review, and we're going to pick up with question 31 from the review packet. And this is asking us to find the inverses of the following radical expressions. So we'll start with 31. The very first thing we have to do to find the inverse is to switch our input and output. So that's going to be the first thing that we do. The letter x is our input. We're going to go ahead and write it outside. F of x is our output, so we're going to use that inside where x used to be. If it's easier for you to switch f of x and write it as the letter y instead, you're more than welcome to. So all I did in that step was switch my x and my y. Now I'm halfway there. This is my inverse, but it's written improperly. So all we have to do is get the f of x alone, and we will be done. So all we have to do now is unwrap that f of x, so we can add 3 to both sides. We end up with x plus 3 is f of x to the 5th power. And now all we have to do is undo the 5th power, and we can do that with the 5th root. So we'll go ahead and take the 5th root of both sides. And when we do that, the f of x will now be completely alone, f of x, and it'll be equal to everything from that left-hand side, which is the 5th root of x plus 3. And that's it. That's our inverse. Technically, we could put a little -1 there for our notation, but that guy's all done. Let's go ahead and find the inverse of question 32 now. Again, my first step should be to switch my input and my output. So I'm going to write the x on the outside, and I'm going to write the f of x inside where the x used to be. Now that I've done that, I'm almost finished. I just have to unwrap that f of x, so we can start by subtracting 6 from both sides. Is f of x cubed. And then we can undo the cube by cube rooting both sides. Cube root there, cube root there. Again, the f of x is now completely unwrapped, and it's going to equal the cube root of x minus 6. And that inverse is, again, all done. Let's take a look at our last couple of questions here. These are our composition questions. We're trying to find if f of x is x squared and g of x is the square root of x plus 4, we want to find f of g of x. That means that we want to take g of x, this guy, and plug it into f, which is this guy. So we're going to start with the inner function, which is the second function mentioned, g of x. That's the square root of x plus 4. I'm going to need to plug that into f. So everything that f does to its variable, it squares it, I'm going to do that to my entire g of x function. So that's f of g of x. All I have to do is simplify that. F of g of x, the square and the square root cancel, it just equals x plus 4. So that part is done. Question 34 is asking us to find f of g of 2. And lucky for us, we already know f of g of x. So all we have to do is take the x value they want us to plug in, the number 2, and plug it in right here where x is. So f of g of 2 is just 2 plus 4, which is 6. And that guy's done as well.